What advice would you give an organisation that's recently been awarded UK Research and Innovation funding?
Well, first of all, I'd say congratulations, because it is difficult to get UK Innovate funding. In terms of advice, the first thing I would advise is to know your reporting requirements. So know what you need to submit and when you need to submit it in terms of an independent accountant's report. What we sometimes find is that organisations come to us late after their deadlines, which obviously can impact their funding from the donor and can also impact their organisation's cash flow. What is also important is knowing what documentation you need to retain to demonstrate that you've complied with the grant eligibility criteria, and also to make sure that documentation is retained in an organised manner so that it's easily retrievable for us when it comes to certifying that expenditure.
Sounds like it can be a slightly complex process. How can we support a recipient in this situation?
So BDO have a dedicated team which is focused on grant certifications and this type of expenditure. So that team will help you with that process. BDO are well known for staying in close contact with their clients and supporting their clients through complicated processes.
Could you tell me a little bit more about the stages within your approach?
So we look at it in 4 stages. There is onboarding, planning, fieldwork, and then reporting.
So onboarding, what do we mean by that?
So with onboarding, what that means is that we need to know quite a bit about you, the client, and also a little bit about the project. And the reason why that is important is that BDO is a regulated firm and we have know your client procedures that we need to clear, money laundering regulations that we need to comply with, and also conflict of interest and independence requirements that we also need to clear before we issue an engagement letter.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, planning is a little bit different, is that right?
Yeah, so planning is when we go into more detail into the project, and in particular the project expenditure. And what we do at the planning stage is we send you an induction pack, which essentially sets out the timetable for the process and also outlines what we expect in terms of documentation that you will need to provide to support each type of expenditure. What we also do at the planning stage is talk about where we're going to carry out the fieldwork. So that could be at your premises, or it can also be done remotely in some circumstances. We also talk about the preferred method of communication as well. So we know that some organisations want to have that close contact with us, whilst other organisations who might have been through a number of these certification processes might want us to be more hands-off.
So once planning is completed, I assume this is when the audit team can actually start reviewing the costs?
Yeah, that's correct. So our dedicated team will start reviewing the costs. They will start looking at the project documentation, which is supporting those costs. And what they will do is what we call a no surprises approach, which essentially means that if there are issues with the costs or the documentation, they will raise those issues with project management as soon as possible, so that project management can go away and try and resolve those issues. So that might be finding documentation to support a particular cost, or finding a different type of documentation that is actually required in addition to what's already there.
So once the team have completed the review, I assume we're getting to the stage where we can issue a draft report, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So what we will do is complete the audit file, which will then be reviewed by the director and then by the partner. If there are no issues, or the issues that have arisen during the review have all been resolved, then at that point we can issue the certification.
And if an organisation would like to work with us, how can they go about that?
So you can visit our website and find out more about our team and our services.